Luz.
At 3 a.m. in the morgue, a doctor writing a death report encounters a dead person whispering, "Luz, the yellow house. Don't leave me." Listen to this whisper that will lead her on the trail of a missing girl and witness what this doctor experiences. It's 3:09 a.m. The morgue is cold, the neon flickers, and rain hits the small window. The hospital sleeps, but no one here rests. Dr. Samantha Rivera pushes the door with her hip, ties her hair back, and stands by the steel stretcher. The tag on the body's feet says NN47. No name, no history, just a number. About 40, pale, traces of rain and a fall on the body, found on the street. Transferred as unknown, cardiac arrest. Samantha puts on her gloves, right, then left, the snap of latex breaking the silence. Her face looks like stone, but the tiredness is in her eyes. She always checks the clock. 3:12. Ever since that white room, the one with the beeping, the little cough, her son Gabriel, she has this habit. She pushes the memory back like closing a drawer. Not today. She uncovers the body carefully, as if he could still feel the cold. No one taught her that. It's just respect. She checks her instruments. Scalpel, scissors, clamps, measuring ruler, wax pencil, everything in order, because when the heart is a desert, order is what's left. She signs, Dr. Rivera. The pen fails. She taps it, sighs. Gabriel's name almost escapes, but she swallows it. The room hums with the air conditioner. Rain gets heavier. She rubs her arms, warms her gloved hands under the light, her back complaining from too many shifts. She leans in to look at the man's face. Damp hair, blue eyelids, an old mark on his neck like from a chain. A man from the street, maybe a father, maybe a nobody. She smooths the sheet with her palm, the last kindness for someone who can't ask for anything anymore. She takes a breath, pulls the steel cart closer, everything at hand. "Let's do this," she whispers to herself. The scalpel gleams under the white light. She brings the tip to the dead man's cold skin, and right then, the faintest breath. So slight, it could be the room air, but Samantha feels it. Her whole body tenses. The scalpel freezes in the air. The rain seems to disappear. Only that moment remains. She holds her breath, looks at his face, his skin still pale, his lips colorless, everything the same. No, it can't be. She tries to convince herself, shakes her head, exhales through her mouth, but her body won't obey. Her legs feel heavy. Her heart beats fast. She slips the fingers of her free hand under the sheet until she reaches the man's chest. She touches cold, hard skin. Nothing, but there is something. A tremor, a pulse. "Calm down, Samantha, you're tired." It must not be fear making her imagine things. "Calm down, Samantha, you're tired," she murmurs. She removes her hand, but the silence now sounds different, as if the air had sound. She takes a deep breath, forcing her mind back into automatic mode, and then the impossible happens. A low noise, a breath, not coming from the room, but from him. Samantha's eyes open. The scalpel falls to the floor with a sharp click. She takes a step back. Her body stiffens. The air seems to disappear. "What? What was that?" she whispers without realizing she is speaking. She approaches slowly, as if afraid of waking up a nightmare. She puts her ear to the man's chest. The cold skin touches her warm face. She stays like that for seconds that feel like an eternity. Silence. Nothing. But there, in the background, something. A sound like a light breeze coming and going. Almost a whisper. A foo so soft, it could be just the echo of her own breathing. She closes her eyes and tries to feel again. Her ear on his chest. Her hand on the metal of the stretcher to support her confused head. No, it's not my mind. It's exhaustion. Her voice comes out trembling, half laughing, half crying. A hallucination, Samantha. Just that. She straightens up and runs her hand across her forehead, trying to wipe away sweat that shouldn't be there. 4. So cold. The blade on the floor reflects the light. She bends down and picks up the scalpel. The tip trembles between her fingers. With every second, the rain sounds more distant. She feels her heart beating in her neck. She closes her eyes and tries to convince herself it was the air. It was the air. She repeats it softly, as if trying to hypnotize herself. But even with the blade in her hand, she cannot continue. Her gloves tremble. She tries to keep her gaze steady, but her eyes cannot lie. A chill runs down his neck. A slight movement, almost impossible, to notice the man's hand, the same one that had not moved for hours. Contracts, first one finger, then another. A spasm, a reflex. She wants to believe so, but his whole body trembles a little. The skin that was once rigid now seems to want to come back to life. The scalpel falls from his hand with a sharp sound. His chest rises 1 millimeter and falls. A breath so short, so weak, it could be just an illusion, but it's not. The body moves. A muscle twitches. The jaw tightens. The air becomes heavy. Samantha takes a step back, her heart beating fast, and then suddenly his eyes open slowly, as if the world itself had forgotten how to do it. His eyelids lift, revealing 2 sunken, dark, lost eyes. He breathes with difficulty, his throat making a hoarse sound, almost a moan. Samantha is paralyzed. The scalpel glitters on the floor, but she doesn't even notice. Her hands sweat inside her gloves. Her mind tries to understand what is happening, but her body already knows. That man who was dead is alive. "My God," she whispers, her voice trembling. Suddenly his arm moves and grabs her wrist tightly, the glove crushed by the pressure. Samantha tries to break free, but he grabs her as if he were drowning. His eyes look at her with desperation. "Don't leave me," he whispers in a raspy voice, weak but full of fear. "Loose, the yellow house." The words come out choppy and heavy. Samantha stands still, her eyes wide open. "What?" she asks, not realizing she answered. "What house? Who is Luce?" He tries to speak again, but his breathing fails. The hand that was holding her begins to lose strength, trembling. His fingers slide down her arm. He still tries to move his lips, murmuring something she can't quite understand. He repeats, almost soundlessly, "Luce, don't leave me." The phrase echoes inside her like a cry for help. His body trembles again and falls back onto the stretcher. His eyes remain open, but without focus. Samantha touches his neck, searching for his pulse. It's there, but weak and irregular. No, he can't hold on. "Please hold on," she says, her voice mixed with tears and fear. "Can you hear me? Stay with me." She presses the red button on the wall. The sound of the alarm breaks the silence. The emergency signal can be heard throughout the corridors. Cutting through the early morning, the door bursts open. 2 nurses rush in, one of them the paramedic Diego. He looks at her confused. "What happened, doctor?" He was dead," she says, pointing to the stretcher. "He opened his eyes, grabbed me, spoke to me." "He spoke?" asks Diego, surprised. "But that man already had a death certificate, doctor. I know what I saw. Come on, help him." The 3 of them move quickly, their hands working automatically. Electrodes, oxygen, check his pulse. His body trembles. His eyes roll back. His breathing fails. Samantha holds his head firmly to one side, her face close to his. "Stay with me, please," she whispers. "You're not going to die again. You hear me?" The monitor sounds irregular, a beep that frightens. The numbers go up and down. One of the nurses squeezes the ambu bag. Another runs to get the adrenaline. Everything happens in seconds, but for Samantha it's like an eternity. The pressure rises. Diego shouts, "He's coming back!" She doesn't take her eyes off him. His face is pale and sweaty, his lips trembling. Suddenly he tries to speak again between the oxygen tubes. It's Stephen." His voice is raspy, almost without strength. "Stephen, cross Samantha." She leans in to hear him better. "Stephen is your name?" He tries to nod, but his head falls to the side. His eyes close. His body relaxes. The monitor sounds another alarm. "He fainted," Diego shouts. "Let's go, compressions." The room becomes chaotic. Equipment moves. Voices cross. Samantha grabs his pulse hard, as if she could bring him back to life with her hands. Every time they press on his chest, she hears the sound of rain outside, mixed with the alarm that continues to ring through the hallways. "Come on, Stephen," she murmurs through her tears. "Please come back." The footsteps, the instruments, the beeping of the monitor, everything mixes together in an orchestra of despair. And in the midst of the chaos, As the rain falls harder outside and the hallways fill with echoes, Samantha understands something that cannot be explained. The impossible has just happened before her eyes. The morning arrives gray. The hospital looks like a tired ship floating in the fog. The hallway smells of stale coffee and disinfectant. Samantha walks slowly in her wrinkled gown, her eyes sunken. She spent the whole night in the emergency room, sitting on a metal bench, watching the monitor beeping to the uncertain rhythm of a life that didn't want to leave. Now the sound of her footsteps is cold. In her hand is a clipboard with papers she doesn't want to sign. Her name is there, NN47, but now she already knows. Stephen. Every letter of that name weighs like lead on the glass door of the administrative office. Her reflection looks like that of another person, pale, tired, with her hair tied carelessly behind her back. Behind the desk, the hospital director, Dr. Montalban, adjusts his glasses and sighs loudly without looking at her. Dr. Rivera, please sit down. She obeys, but inside she remains standing, her hands in her lap, her fingers clutching the paper tightly. I was told about what happened. He begins in a dry voice. You declared him dead, and then the man showed signs of life. That's right. He came back, doctor. Her voice is firm, but hurt. I saw it with my own eyes. He grabbed me. He spoke to me. The nurses saw it too. Montalban. He scratches his forehead and takes a deep breath. Samantha, you know the magnitude of the problem this could cause, right? The press, the police, management, a dead man who wasn't dead. This is a scandal. A scandal is burying a man alive, doctor, she replies, her voice rising before she can control it. He was cold, yes, but he breathed. I felt his breath on my fingers. You have to understand, he interrupts more seriously. These things happen. Apparent death, involuntary reflexes. Now he's in a deep coma. That's what the tests. And honestly, he pauses, looking at the paper. He's probably not going to wake up. The phrase hurts like a knife. Samantha looks down, but doesn't give up. You weren't there, she says, her voice trembling, but determined. I saw the impossible in front of me. No one wakes up from a coma in the middle of an autopsy by accident. Something bigger is going on. He shakes his head, annoyed. Bigger, doctor, she says ironically. The only thing here is protocol, and the protocol is clear. You write that it was a case of apparent death, and we continue. No miracles, no soap opera stories. Understood. She takes a deep breath, trying not to cry. You don't believe me, but I saw life in that man. Her eyes fill with tears. He squeezed my wrist, doctor. He looked at me and asked for my help. The director takes off his glasses and speaks more softly. Samantha, I know you've been through a lot. Everyone here knows that, but maybe that's clouding your judgment. She gets up slowly, without taking her eyes off him. Clouding my judgment, she repeats with a broken voice. I lost my son, doctor, but that didn't blind me. I know what a lifeless body looks like, and that man wasn't dead. Silence hangs heavy between them. Only the cleaning cart in the hallway can be heard in the distance. Montalban organizes the papers, trying to end the conversation. Fill out the report. Rivera, write death confirmed. That's the right thing to do. And get on with your shift. She clenches her fists. Her chest rises and falls rapidly, as if she were holding back an explosion. The right thing, she repeats softly. The right thing would be to fight to the end, doctor. The right thing would be not to abandon someone just because they seem lost. He raises his eyebrows wearily. Samantha, you know how this works here. No one is God, deciding who lives and who dies. She takes a step forward, her gaze steady, or speaks softly, but every word hits home. No one is God to take away that chance, not even the director. He closes the folder, ending the conversation. I understand how you feel, but please push the paper toward her. Confirm. She looks at the form, the blank space where she must write, death confirmed. The pen weighs heavy in her hand. The clock on the wall reads 9:00 outside. The constant drizzle returns. She runs her finger over the paper as if searching for a pulse again. Her heart beats at the same rhythm as the night before. He's going to live, she says quietly, more to herself than to him. Even if no one believes me, even if I'm the only one trying, Montalban sighs. She's wearing herself out for nothing. She looks up, her eyes full of tears but steady. I'd rather wear myself out trying to save someone than fill a piece of paper pretending that it's all over. She leaves the form on the table and walks out of the office. The sound of her footsteps echoes loudly in the hallway, along with the echo of her heels on the cold floor behind her. The director shakes his head, muttering something she can no longer hear. Samantha walks quickly. The air in the hallway feels heavier, but inside her, something small shines again. An almost invisible thread of faith, a 0.01% chance, as she herself said. And for that, so 1%, she is going to fight. Even if everyone says it's crazy, even if no one believes her, because for the first time in a long time, the impossible looked at her and breathed. 2 days later, no results, no signs. The recovery room smells of alcohol and hope mixed together. The lights flicker dimly. The hum of the equipment is constant, almost hypnotic. Samantha stands next to the stretcher, her eyes fixed on the face of the man who, hours earlier, everyone swore was dead. Now he is breathing weakly, irregularly, but he is breathing. The oxygen mask covers half his face, and the air enters in small sobs. The sound of the monitor is like a heartbeat in the distance, alive but uncertain on the other side. 2 nurses adjust the cables. The paramedic Diego checks the IV. Samantha says nothing. She just watches. There is something in that silence that tightens her chest. The cold hospital light falls directly on Stephen's chest. His skin still has purple marks, scratches, signs of a fight or neglect. Samantha tucks the sheet up to his neck, but something catches her attention. A small, almost invisible lump just below his left collarbone. She frowns, leans over, and carefully pulls the fabric, moving the sheet a little. There is a scar in the shape of a cross, so perfect that it looks intentional. It is not a mark from an accidental cut or a fall. It is symmetrical, clear, old, 2 thin lines crossed with precision. Samantha instinctively runs her finger over the mark. The skin is cold, but firm. The touch gives her a strange feeling, something between respect and fear. "Doctor, everything okay over there?" Diego asks without looking up from the monitors. Yes, everything under control," she replies quickly, hiding her feelings, but inside her heart is beating faster. She bends down a little closer, looking closely at the scar. The tip of her fingers glides smoothly over the cross, as if trying to understand what faith means, what she thinks of violence, of marks. She has seen all kinds of scars, knife cuts, burns, torn tattoos, but nothing like this. The cross seems old, and at the same time made with intention. Her gaze wanders for a moment. Images flash through her mind. The scalpel in the air, the faint the hoarse voice saying, "Loose," the yellow house. Everything begins to blend together, and that mark seems like a sign, part of a story she doesn't yet understand. "Sam," Diego calls again. "Do you want me to turn up the oxygen?" She takes a while to respond. "Leave it like that." He's reacting. Diego shrugs and goes back to work. Samantha sits up straight, adjusts her gown, and looks around. No one else notices that little cross. Only her. On impulse, she reaches into her pocket and takes out her cell phone, pretending to check her messages. She waits for the nurses to move away from the stretcher to change the IV. Then, with a quick movement, she opens the camera. The clicking sound is low, almost inaudible, but to her it sounds like thunder. The image appears on the screen, the small cross marked under the collarbone, surrounded by damaged skin. She zooms in and analyzes each line. There is something about the shape, something strange. The vertical cut is deeper, and there are small burn marks around the edges. Burns, as if a hot iron had been pressed against his skin. Her stomach churns. "Who did this to you?" Stephen murmurs, almost without a voice. The man does not respond. His chest rises and falls slowly to the rhythm of the machines. Samantha puts her cell phone in her pocket, takes a deep breath, looks at his face again, and tries to imagine him before the pain, before the abandonment, before that cross. Diego approaches. He is going to stay under observation for now. His blood pressure is stable. "Do you want me to take the report to the boss?" She thinks for a moment, but shakes her head. Leave it to me. I'll deliver it myself. Diego nods and leaves. The door closes, and the room is almost silent, except for the beep of the monitor, the drip of the IV, and his breathing filling the air. Samantha sits down next to the bed and looks again at that cross. Something about that mark seems to speak to her, a symbol of faith, perhaps, or of punishment. She doesn't know why, but she feels that this scar holds a story, a truth hidden beneath the skin, and that somehow she needs to discover what it is. With her thumb, she touches her chest again, gently. The skin reacts with a small, almost invisible shiver. "I don't know who you are, or what they did to you," she whispers, "but that mark, that cross, seems to want to be remembered." Her eyes fill with tears. She doesn't know if it's because of fatigue or because of the mystery that is beginning to be born there, amid the pain and forgotten faith. She grabs the sheet and covers her chest slowly, carefully, as if protecting a secret. The monitor continues to beep steadily. Samantha takes a deep breath. She feels something moving inside her too, something she doesn't understand, but that makes her stay there in silence, watching, as if deep down, she feels that that little cross under the skin of a stranger is the beginning of something that will change everything. 2 more days have passed, 4 full days since Stephen was brought back from almost nothing, and yet his body remains motionless, connected to cables, tubes, and machines that breathe for him. Samantha enters slowly, pushing the door open with her shoulder in the hallway. The yellow light contrasts with the sterile white of the room. She carries a clipboard with papers, but she doesn't look at the numbers. Her gaze goes straight to him. Esteban looks asleep, his skin pale, his hair stuck to his forehead with sweat, his chest rising and falling slowly. The sound of the heart monitor is the only noise that proves there is still life there, even if it is very little. She approaches the bed and sits in the chair that seems to be part of her these days. The nurses even joke that the doctor is going to put down roots there. She pretends to laugh, but it's half true. Since that night, Samantha has hardly been home. Her eyes are tired but steady, observing every detail, every breath, every tiny movement. She holds the clipboard on her lap, but the pencil falls from her hand and lies there on the floor, forgotten. 4 days, she says softly, looking at him. 4 days and nothing, Stephen, but I know you can hear me. Silence responds. She runs her hand over the sheet, smoothing the fold near his shoulder. She does it so carefully that it seems afraid of hurting him. "I shouldn't get involved, you know," she continues in a tired voice, almost as if confessing. "That's what they say. Keep your emotional distance, doctor. But how do you do that? How do you look at someone who came back from the impossible and pretend it's just another case?" She takes a deep breath. The sound of air through her nose mixes with the hum of the machines. The whole hospital seems asleep. Outside, light rain has been falling since early morning, dragging the day into a gray shadow. Samantha grabs the stethoscope and places it on his chest. The sound is faint, but it's there, and that small sign makes her close her eyes, as if in silent prayer. "Keep fighting," she whispers. "I'm here." Time passes slowly. The hours drag on as if the clock were lazy. She gets up, changes the IV, writes down some numbers just to pretend she's working, then sits down again without haste. Suddenly a different sound. A small crackle, a groan, almost a sigh. Samantha straightens up in her chair, alert. Stephen calls softly. Nothing. She takes his hand. His skin is cold, but alive. Instinctively, she begins to speak as if he could hear her. "You have to go back." "Yes. I don't know who you are. I don't know what brought you here, but someone must be waiting for you. No one disappears from the world without leaving someone behind." A heavy silence falls over the room. The monitor continues to mark slow heartbeats. Samantha stays there with her thumb caressing the back of his hand without realizing it. Then there is a slight movement, a gentle tug on the fabric of her gown, so small that she thinks she must have imagined it. But no. Esteban's hand, which had been still, now grabs her sleeve, weakly, tremulously, but strongly enough to take her breath away. Stephen leans over him, his voice trembling. "Can you hear me?" His eyes open a little, his pupils dilated, lost, as if they don't know where they are. He tries to speak, his throat straining, air coming out as a hoarse sound. "Sam, I'm dying." His voice fails, cut off. Samantha moves closer, almost pressing her ear to his lips. "Calm down. Don't talk, rest." But he insists, the words coming out slowly, broken, each one with great effort. "Sam, I'm dying. Look for Luce. The yellow house, mile 23, Old Road." His breathing quickens. The monitor beeps faster. Samantha presses the button to call for help, but doesn't let go of his hand. "Who is Luce?" she asks, almost breathless. "Which house is that?" He tries to continue, but his eyes close again. His body relaxes. The sound of the machines returns to its previous rhythm. Samantha stands there still. His words still echo in her head. "Look for Luce. Yellow house." She feels her heart beating fast. She doesn't know why, but those words stick in her soul as if they were a plea, not medical, not logical, but human, a request made with the last strength of a man on the verge of death. She looks at his now peaceful face. Tears fall without warning. "I'll go," she says, almost in a whisper. "I promise, Stephen, I'll go." And in that moment, she feels something ignite inside her, an old, forgotten warmth, a small spark of faith that shines again in the midst of the darkness. It's not big, just a spark, but it's enough to make her believe, for the first time in a long time, that maybe there is a reason for all this. She grabs his hand once more, tightly. Outside, the rain continues to fall, as if the sky were also crying, but it's enough to make her believe, for the first time in a long time, that maybe there is a reason for all this. She grabs his hand once more, tightly. Outside, the rain continues to fall but it is enough to make her believe, for the first time in a long time, that maybe there is a reason for all this. She grabs his hand once more tightly. Outside, the rain continues to fall as if the sky were also crying, but inside, Samantha feels the opposite, a gentle peace, almost childlike. And in silence she makes the first promise that would change the course of her life. She is going to find Luce. The end of the shift weighs heavily on her shoulders. The clock is almost 6 p.m. The light outside is already gray. Samantha pushes the hospital door open with her hip and feels the cold air from the rain directly on her face. The guard in the booth raises his hand in a discreet greeting. She responds with a short gesture and runs to the old car. Her coat gets wet in seconds. The click of the handle seems like something from another era. The seat creaks when she sits down. It smells like wet coffee spilled life in a hurry. On the dashboard is the crumpled picture of her son, turned over months ago, always with his back to her, so she wouldn't look, so she wouldn't remember. She stays for a few seconds with her hand on the steering wheel, the rain hitting the glass as if urging her to hurry. "This is now," she says softly, almost without a voice. Her hand goes to the picture. She touches it slowly, as if touching a beloved face. She turns it over slowly. She straightens it, removes a small piece of lint stuck to the edge of the paper. The worn image of the small face appears complete. Her chest tightens, but it no longer hurts like before. It hurts with hope. "Guide me," she whispers. "Please." The engine takes 2 turns to start, then coughs and accepts. The windshield wipers scratch the glass in a nervous back and forth. The street glistens with water. The lights of the cars become long streaks. Samantha takes a deep breath, puts the car in first gear, and drives off. The rain gets heavier at the first curve. The sound outside becomes a curtain. She squints to see beyond the wet glare, her hand steady on the steering wheel, her fingers white with tension. The radio turns on with a crackle. She flicks the button until she finds a station. Any station. An old song starts softly. She turns up the volume a notch but doesn't sing along, just lets the sound fill the gaps in her thoughts. Traffic on the avenue is slow. Trucks kick up mud. A motorcycle passes very close, splashing the entire windshield. Samantha holds back a curse and laughs to herself. A short, nervous laugh. Her heart beats fast for no clear reason, or with every reason in the world. Mile 23. Old Highway, she repeats, practicing the phrase that has been stuck in her head all day. Yellow house, she looks quickly at her cell phone placed in a cheap holder. The map shakes, showing a blue line that cuts through the city, and disappears in a thin line almost off the screen. She breathes, checks the tank a little more than half full on the dashboard. An amber light comes on overdue. She taps it, as if asking it to hold on a little longer. The city limits. The buildings become few and far between. Low houses with peeling paint, lights flickering behind curtains. A woman runs along the side of the street with plastic bags, her umbrella turned inside out by the wind. Samantha slows down, lets the woman pass, raises her hand in a goodbye gesture that comes out without thinking. She realizes it and swallows hard. Goodbye. How long has it been since she said that? The open road of the old highway arrives like a sigh. The asphalt has dark patches. The standing water makes the car sway a little. She holds on tight, her forehead pressed against the outside world. Faded signs appear and disappear in the fog. 17 kilometers. The windshield wiper squeaks. The radio malfunctions and then works again. The air in the car is very cold. She rubs her hands on the steering wheel, warming her fingers with her breath. Her coat. Not much further to go, she tells herself, so that her courage keeps pace with the car. The smell of wet earth enters through a crack in the window, bringing back memories of afternoons with her son in the park. Muddy boots, easy laughter. The memory comes complete with color and sound. She welcomes it without resistance, does not flee, but breathes with it. It is as if the road were washing something inside her. 20 kilometers. The sky darkens very early. The headlights cut the fog into two timid stripes. Samantha blinks many times, afraid of missing a sign, an entrance, any clue. She knows that if she drives past, she may not have the courage to turn back. Her cell phone vibrates with a notification. She ignores it. Focus, Rivera. Her focus repeats, but now the phrase is not harsh. It is a hug. A patrol car passes on the other side. The water hits the windshield hard. Her car shakes. The little sticker falls loose from a corner and almost falls. She reaches out and grabs it before it slips to the floor. She puts it back, sticks it with tape that was there on the dashboard, and settles it again, calmly. Stay here with me, she says to the paper. Don't let me get lost. The road narrows into a stretch with no shoulder, twisted trees on both sides, branches that look like hands asking for help, the rain hitting harder, drops that hurt her ears. The world outside is just a blur. The world inside is the noise of the engine and her measured breathing. 22 kilometers. Her stomach knots. Samantha shifts gears. She feels the car groan. The smell of oil fills the air. The temperature gauge rises slightly. She bites her lip and talks to the car as if it were a person. Calm down, friend. We're almost there. Just take me there. I'll take care of it. The cell phone recalculates the route and vibrates. A blue arrow flashes. Turn right in 1.2 kilometers. She repeats it softly, learning. 1, 2. Her heart beats to the rhythm of the windshield wipers. 1, 2, 1, 2. She touches the little stamp with 2 fingers, just to hold on to something warm. 23 kilometers. The sign appears suddenly, crooked and eaten away by rust. She brakes gently, turns on her blinker. The asphalt road becomes a narrow mouth of stones and mud. The wheel sinks into a puddle. The water rises and falls, and Samantha exhales air she didn't even realize she was holding. I've reached 23, she whispers. Now the old road. The entrance is a cut between the vegetation. The lights illuminate an ugly road with potholes, loose stones, puddles that look very deep. The car moves slowly, her body moving with each bump. The radio dies forever. All that remains is the sound of rain and the scraping of the branches on the side. She slows down and drives almost as if she were walking. There is no smell of chlorine. The smell here is of wet grass and old metal. The dashboard flashes again. She ignores it, squeezes the little stamp with her fingers, and closes her eyes for a second. Guide me. She opens her eyes and continues. Outside, lightning crosses the sky without a sound. For a moment, the light draws the shadows of the trees on the trunk. Her heart rises to her throat. A deep puddle makes the car jump. The seatbelt tightens around her chest. She laughs nervously. Everything is fine. Everything is fine, she repeats, as she used to say to her son when he was afraid of thunder. Mommy is here. She breaks and wipes the inside of the window with her sleeve. She looks into the distance again. Through the fog, something light can be seen between the shadows. A low wall, a fence. Nothing is certain. The world is a wet, dark blur, with tiny dots of light from brave fireflies. Samantha stops the car in a less wet part of the road, the engine ticking away as it cools, the rain hitting the roof like hurried fingers. She slowly unbuckles her seatbelt, puts her forehead on the steering wheel, and takes 3 deep breaths. On the third, she begins to cry, silently, without fuss. Just warm tears that fall and mix with the sound of the water outside. "I'm scared," she admits very quietly, as she never does. "But I'm going. She wipes her face with her hands, breathes again, turns on the high beams. The little picture, now steady and facing forward, seems to look straight at the road. She smiles sadly, kisses her fingertips, and touches the paper. She puts the car in first gear, releases the clutch, and the car slowly and carefully moves back into the wet darkness of the old highway, where at some point, she still can't see, there is a promise, a yellow house. And for the first time in a long time, the road isn't as scary as the idea of turning back. The rain becomes a heavy drizzle. In the middle of the fog, she sees the house. It's not yellow, it's red, or it was once. The paint has crusted over, falling off in pieces, leaving the brick exposed. The crooked gate moves with a creak that sounds like a wounded animal. The tall grass touches the bumper. In the corner of the yard, a rusty tricycle with a blue ribbon still tied to the handlebars sways in the wind, as if calling to someone who no longer answers. Samantha turns off the engine. Silence descends, broken only by the raindrops hitting the car roof. She takes a deep breath, grabs the prayer card with her thumb and her index finger, gives it a soft kiss, and puts it back on the dashboard. The mud comes out, hugging her shoe. The smell of wet earth rises warmly, mixed with an old smell of damp wood coming from the house. She pushes the gate with her hand, and it opens with a short bang. The tricycle creaks, as if complaining about the visit. Her heart beats strongly to the same rhythm as the windshield wipers, which has been left on out of habit. Tick, 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 until she remembers and goes back to turn it off. She adjusts her coat, pulls up her hood, and moves forward, stepping carefully. "Hello?" Her voice comes out small and disappears in the yard. "There is nothing there," she asks again, more firmly. Only the rain responds on the tin roof. She climbs the step at the entrance. The wood creaks under her weight, making a sound that sends a chill down her spine. The door is half open, a line of darkness, a tongue of shadow asking for courage. Samantha puts her fingers on the hinge and pushes slowly. It creaks. The smell inside is of stored dust, old paper, and memories of those who live in things. "With your permission," she says softly, as if asking forgiveness for entering. The hallway is narrow, with damp spots that draw maps on the wall. Each step raises a silver dust in the ray of light coming in from the street. The living room opens to the right, a window with a broken curtain, a sunken armchair, a crooked piece of furniture with 3 fallen books, and an overturned glass in the corner. A pair of small pink plastic shoes forgotten, the lace of one tied in a perfect bow, as if someone stopped playing right in the middle. She insists, but now with the voice of someone who does not want to wake up the past. She takes 2 steps and stands still. An entire wall from floor to ceiling is covered with newspaper clippings and yellow tape holding headlines in large letters. "Missing girl still being searched for. Neighbors report where she is." Light on some stamps with different dates. On others, black and white photos of children with frozen smiles that hurt to see. In the middle of the clippings are arrows drawn with a pen, circles, names, scratched out phone numbers. A silent scream. Samantha's chest tightens. She slowly runs her fingers over the papers, tracing the path with her nail. She follows the line and finds another note with the title, "Break Their Network." She closes her eyes for a second, as if holding back a wave inside her body. On the low table covered in fine dust, there is a plastic picture frame lying face down next to it. A cup with a faded heart and a flower-shaped hair clip. Samantha hesitates. She looks at the door as if asking for permission. She turns the photo over. The room becomes smaller in the image. Stephen looks more alive, with a neat beard, a simple shirt, and a smile that rises more on one side. At his feet is a girl of about 7 years old, with neatly braided hair, 2 light satin ribbons at the ends, and dark eyes laughing with her mouth and cheeks. Her arm is firmly around his neck, as if she trusts him completely, without measure. He looks at the camera with the pride that only a father has. Behind them, a wall painted yellow, worn by the sun. Perhaps the house used to be a different color, a different time. Samantha swallows hard. Her finger runs along the edge of the picture frame, removing a little dust. The gesture is one of affection. Without meaning to, her skin bristles. The air, she turns the photo over, and on the back, in blue ink, she reads slowly, her voice barely audible. To Luce, with all my love, Dad. Luce. The name enters her like a ray of light and ignites all the clippings on the wall at the same time. Luce, the girl with the braids, the laughter, the tricycle in the yard, the yellow house in the red photo in front of her eyes. Time painted everything differently, except for the absence. She breathes, sits on the arm of the chair so as not to fall, and stares at the photo for a moment, as if she could hear a little bit of that laughter coming out of the paper. She runs her thumb softly over Stephen's face. She holds the frame with both hands. She closes her eyes for a moment. She feels like calling his name as if the girl were in the next room, hiding. Ready to say, "I'm coming," she doesn't call. She opens her eyes and looks at the wall of clippings on a torn sheet of paper at the top. Someone wrote by hand, with courage and hope together. I won't let go. Below are dates, notes, arrows pointing to places, crosses with a pen, circles around words like warehouse, night, white car. A painstaking and painful task. Samantha presses the photo to her chest and stands up. The wooden floor creaks under her feet. She takes 2 steps to the wall and touches a clipping with a small photo of the same girl, a little younger, wearing a polka dot dress. The caption is short. Luce Cruz, 7. The last name is gone, she says softly into the air, as if confessing something. Holy light. She is his daughter. Her eyes fill with tears without asking permission. The tears fall simply, without noise. It is not a cry of despair. It is a cry of understanding, the name of the pain of finally seeing who is missing. She looks back at the tricycle through the window, the blue ribbons on the handlebars moving stubbornly. The wind comes in and makes the curtain breathe the curtain. The whole room seems to remember little footsteps running down the hall. Someone shouting, "Daddy!" A silly song made up on the spot, and a day when the house began to empty. Samantha hugs her mother's picture frame carefully, her fingers trembling, her heart beating so close to her throat that it hurts. She feels a quiet rage rising along with an enormous affection for this girl she doesn't know and already loves in a way she doesn't understand. Her watch vibrates on her wrist, reminding her of something. She ignores it. Time here takes on another form. She looks back at the wall and reads another silent title, Family. She asks for help. Next to it is a phone number written in pen, almost erased. She runs her fingertip over it as if she wants to save the numbers with her touch. In the bottom corner is a poorly drawn map with arrows everywhere, as if someone searched for clues until they were exhausted. The wind slams the door, which moves slightly, and the noise brings her back to her body. She wipes her face with the sleeve of her coat, takes a deep breath, and clutches the photo tightly again, back with all my love. Love that still unites them, even though one disappears from the other's sight. She looks around as if saying goodbye to an altar, leaves the photo on the table in front of her, and wipes away the dust that still slightly covers the girl's smile. She adjusts the frame until it is straight, then puts her hand on her chest, right where it hurts, and stands still for a moment, listening to her own breathing. Luce, she says very softly, as if calling someone in the dark. I heard you. The house responds with the same silence as before, but now it feels different. It is not emptiness. It is waiting. It is as if the walls had kept a secret for a long time and suddenly revealed their heart. Samantha takes a step back and then another forward, as if she wants to leave and stay at the same time. The tricycle creaks again, urging her to hurry or be careful. It's hard to tell. The crooked gate bangs in the wind, marking a strange rhythm. She touches the photo one last time and closes her eyes for 2 seconds. When she opens them, the cutout wall is still there, calling out. The question that comes to mind is simple and heavy. Why did she disappear? And the answer is nowhere to be found in that room. There is only pain and all the love stuck behind the photo. With all my love, Samantha takes a deep breath. She smells wet paper, rustle, and promise. Then slowly she begins to move again, without making a sound, her heart beating hard enough for her to hear it, and not forget it. The wind blows harder, making the leaves in the yard spin in circles. Samantha stands in the room, still holding the picture frame with the photo of Stephen and the girl. The sound of the rain subsides, but the air becomes heavy with that silence that comes before thunder. She feels a chill run up the back of her neck. Instinctively, she looks toward the window. Among the wet branches, there is movement. A shadow moves on the other side of the wall. She holds her breath. Suddenly, a hoarse voice, almost a whisper, pierces the noise of the rain. "Doctor!" The sound is low, urgent. Samantha approaches to the window, her heart pounding. "Who is it?" she asks in a controlled tone, her body half hidden behind the torn curtain. A man appears on the other side of the fence, his face wrinkled, his hat soaked, his coat made of canvas. His eyes seem to live more in fear than in light. He looks from side to side as if watching to see if anyone is following him. "You better leave, doctor," he says firmly but quietly. "Bad men rule here." Samantha frowns her brow. "Bad? What do you mean?" The old man shakes his head impatiently. "Dangerous people. This is no place to walk alone, especially at nightfall. Stephen got mixed up with some big shots." The phrase cuts her like a cold knife. "What people? Tell me who they are." The man looks at the ground, steps in the mud, avoids looking her in the eye. "I don't know any names. I only know that when he came to report something, the cars started coming at night. The screams, the noises behind the house, and then nothing. The girl disappeared, and no one wanted to talk. Not even the police." Samantha feels her stomach tighten. She squeezes the picture frame hard, almost breaking the glass. "Luce," murmurs the girl. The old man nods his head without daring to look at her. "Yes, the daughter? They called her Luce pretty, like the sun. But after that everything changed. The house went dark. You should leave, doctor. There's nothing good here anymore. Good here." Thunder crashes in the distance, making the window vibrate. The old man is startled. He looks over his shoulder and takes 2 steps back. "I'm telling you this for your own good," he adds in an even lower voice. "If they see you here, they may think you know things, and they don't forgive anyone. Please wait." Samantha tries to call him, but the man has already turned around and is walking away quickly, his hat falling almost over his face. Only his footsteps can be heard, losing themselves in the mud. Silence returns, intense, almost alive. Samantha stands at the window, watching his shadow disappear among the trees. The wind hits the glass and makes her step back. Her breath is short, her chest hurts. Fear begins to rise, cold, creeping up her back. "Bad men, big people." His voice continues to echo in her head. She looks again at the photo in her hands. The girl's smile now seems sadder, as if she already knew everything from before. Samantha swallows hard, presses the photo to her chest, and tries to breathe slowly. "What did you do?" Stephen whispers. "What did you get yourself into?" The answer doesn't come, only the sound of the wind and the wood creaking, as if the house were also afraid. She decides to continue, climbing the stairs slowly with the flashlight on her cell phone lighting the way. The upstairs hallway is narrow, the walls stained, there is a smell of dampness, and memories the doors are ajar, and the air is heavy, as if it had been locked in there for years. The first room is small, a child's bed with flowered sheets covered by a thin layer of dust, a pillow with the shape still marked as if someone had slept there, and suddenly disappeared a doll lying on the floor, its dress torn, one eye missing. Samantha kneels, lifts the doll, and wipes its face with her thumb. Luce murmurs again with a lump in her throat. She leaves the doll on the bed, neatly arranged, and goes to the next room. The door is stuck, but gives way with a push. Inside, the smell is different. Old paper, smoke, and a hint of alcohol. It is an adult's room. A desk is pushed up against the wall. Drawers are open. Papers are scattered on the floor, and full ashtray. A broken glass in the corner, an open suitcase with men's clothes folded in a hurry. Samantha searches slowly, trying not to make any noise. On the floor near the bed, there is a fallen book covered in dust and moisture. The cover almost destroyed, the title erased. She bends down and picks it up carefully. It is a Bible. The pages are torn and wrinkled, with notes in blue ink and red pen. She turns the pages calmly, her fingers trembling. In several places there are short phrases written by hand. God, don't let me go. Forgive me, but I can't keep quiet. She is not to blame. The letters are firm, nervous. The edges of the pages are stained with what appears to be dried blood. Samantha feels her heart tighten. The old man's voice returns to her mind. Stephen got involved with big people. She continues turning the pages until something falls to the floor with a metallic sound. A small blue key. Samantha bends down and picks it up. It is light, but cold on the side. Engraved with precision, a single word, light. She stares at it, as if she were holding a mystery. She runs her thumb slowly over the name until she reaches the Z. It is a simple key, but there is something about it that seems personal. It is not a house key. It is smaller, almost symbolic. Light, she says again, her voice trembling. Is it for you or about you? She looks around her, as if the girl could answer from some corner, but all she hears is the leak from the ceiling falling into an old bucket. Samantha closes the Bible slowly, holds the key between her fingers, and looks at it under the dim light of the flashlight. The blue key reflects a soft glow, as if it were breathing. She puts it in the pocket of her robe, takes a deep breath, and sits on the edge of the bed. She stays there in silence, listening the house creak in the wind. The neighbor's words still ring in her ears. You better leave, doctor. Bad men rule here. But deep down, she feels something else growing along with her fear. A force, a calling, as if fate were pulling her hand toward the very key she now carries in her pocket. She looks at the closed Bible, touches the torn cover, and repeats in a low voice, almost like a prayer, God, don't let go of me. The words come out in a broken but sincere voice. The rain outside grows stronger again, beating against the windows. Thunder lights up the room for a second, and in the flash, the reflection of the key shines in her pocket. A small but steady glow, like a sign. Samantha takes a deep breath, runs her hand over her face, and whispers to herself, I can't stop now. The sound of the rain diminishes, becoming a slow, spaced-out drip, the kind that makes the world seem to be holding its breath. The silence is so deep that you can hear her heart beating in her chest. Thump, thump, thump. She gets up slowly, adjusts her robe, which is already dry in some places, and looks toward the door of the room, trying to decide whether to go downstairs or stay. Her body wants to leave, but something inside her won't let her. There are too many questions, and that place seems to have the answers hidden among damp walls and old dust. A low but clear creak. Samantha stays still. The sound came from outside, a branch, an animal, or footsteps. She turns off the flashlight immediately. The room is filled with a damp darkness. Her pupils dilate, trying to see something. She breathes as slowly as she can, but her heart won't obey. It beats loudly, as if it wants to be discovered. Another sound, now closer, a creak in the gate below. She approaches the window, walking on tiptoe. The floor creaks a little, betraying her presence. Her skin bristles. She presses herself against the wall, stretches her neck, and looks through the slit in the torn curtain. A light comes from headlights. A large black truck moves slowly along the dirt road in front of the house. The tires cut through the mud with a heavy, constant sound. The windows are dark, so dark that you can't see who's inside. The engine roars softly, almost unnoticeably. She hides behind the curtain, her heart in her throat. The light from the headlights enters through the cracks in the window and streaks across the floor of the room. The beam of light slowly passes over the walls, illuminating for a few seconds the newspaper clippings, the bed, her tense face. My God, she murmurs, almost without a voice. The truck slows down, the engine purring like a hungry engine. Samantha closes her eyes, holds her breath. The sound of the engine stops for a moment. The world stands still. She feels her blood freeze. They saw the light of the flashlight, she thinks, fear crushing the air in her lungs. The rain starts again, soft but enough to hide the footsteps that seem to be approaching the gate. A metallic squeak breaks the silence, and her mind races faster than her body. She squeezes her hand around the blue key so tightly that she feels the cold metal cutting into her skin. It's the only thing she has in her hand, like an amulet. The sound of the engine returns loudly, and the truck starts moving again, slowly, as if checking the place with its eyes behind the dark windows. Samantha remains still, not even blinking. The beam of light passes through the window again, and for a second, illuminates her silhouette against the wall. She ducks quickly, her heart almost exploding. The vehicle moves forward a few meters, then stops again. The noise of the engine subsides and disappears, leaving only the sound of the rain. She waits a minute, 2, 3. Time seems to have stopped until a door slam comes from afar. The truck roars again, and finally the sound recedes, first slowly, then faster, until it disappears, close to the road. Samantha exhales the breath she had been holding without realizing it. Her legs are shaking, her whole body wet with cold sweat. She rests her hand on the wall, trying to keep her balance. Calm down, she whispers with a broken voice. They're gone. But the fear doesn't go away. The fear isn't the sound of the car, it's the silence that comes after. She turns the flashlight back on very slowly, covering the light with her hand so it doesn't escape outside. She looks around. Everything is the same, just the room, the Bible on the bed, and the heavy air. But inside her, everything has changed. Now it's not just curiosity, it's instinct. Something tells her she has to get out of there, now. Samantha goes down the stairs with short steps, her heart still racing. The air downstairs is colder, and the wind comes in through the cracks in the windows, making the curtains move like tired ghosts. She walks through the living room and takes one last look at the wall full of clippings, at the crossed-out words, at the photo of the girl with braids. "I'll be back," she promises in a low voice, as if talking to the photo. She pulls her hat down, puts the blue key in the inside pocket of her robe, and walks toward the door. The gate to the yard creaks as she pushes it open. The rain falls harder again, washing away the fear and sticking her hair to her face. Her shoes sink into the mud. Each step sounds soft and heavy. Her heart wants to beat strongly again, as if the sound of the engine could return at any moment. She reaches the car and opens the door with a trembling hand. The seat is damp and cold. Her hands slip on the steering wheel. She turns the key. The engine doesn't start on the first try. "Come on, start, please," she says through clenched teeth. On the second try, the car growls and starts. The sound of the engine is the most beautiful sound she has ever heard. She takes a deep breath and turns on the lights. In the mirror's reflection, she sees the silhouette of the house behind her, the worn paint, the crooked gate, the motionless tricycle. Everything still as if nothing had happened. But she feels it. The house knows it. She knows it. Samantha puts the car in first gear and drives slowly forward, the tires skidding in the mud. The road swallows the sound of the engine. Her body is still shaking, but her gaze is steady, a mixture of fear and determination. She reaches into her pocket and touches the blue key. The cold metal brushes against her warm skin. She closes her fingers around it, takes a deep breath, and says, almost in a whisper, like a promise to herself, "Whatever it is, I'm not going to stop." She accelerates, and the light from the headlights is lost on the wet road, while behind her, the red house sinks back into darkness, keeping its secrets for one more night. The hospital clock reads 3:17 in the morning. The rain falls again, lightly, hitting the glass of the ICU window. The hallway is silent. Only the constant beeping of the machines and the humming of the respirators break the heavy air of the night. Samantha walks slowly across the white floor, her hands in the pockets of her gown, her body tired, her face pale. The blue key in her pocket weighs more than usual, as if the metal had a life of its own. She stops in front of room 204. The glass, fogged up by humidity, shows the motionless silhouette of Stephen, The same body she almost cut open with a scalpel days ago. Now he is breathing on his own, weakly, but breathing. She enters, slowly. The lights are dim, the television is off, and the sound of the heart monitor follows the same rhythm as his breathing, each beep a small miracle. She approaches the bed and tucks the sheet up to his neck. The gesture is gentle, almost maternal. "You see?" she whispers in a tone that mixes relief and fear. His eyes are still closed, but his eyelids tremble. His body moves, his fingers contract. Samantha reflexively takes his hand, and then slowly his eyes open. They are different, deeper, frightened, as if he had awakened from a nightmare that is not yet over. She leans over slightly. "Stephen, can you hear me?" She speaks softly so as not to scare him. He moves his lips, but no sound comes out. She takes some water and wets his lips with a cotton ball. He takes a deep breath and tries again. "Ah, where am I?" "Oh, I'm in the hospital," he replies in a calm voice. "You're safe." He closes his eyes and tears fall, without him realizing it. Samantha feels a lump in her throat. "I thought you were dead." "You almost were," she says. "But you came back." He slowly turns his face and looks at her, trying to understand who she is. His voice comes out weak. "Was it you, doctor?" She nods. "It's me." "Yes." Stephen takes a deep breath, his hands trembling, his eyes filled with tears. The silence becomes heavy, and then he speaks in a hoarse, broken voice that hurts to hear. "They took her, because of me." Samantha feels her chest tighten. He closes his eyes, tears running down his thin face. "My little girl, my light. They took her because I spoke out." Samantha doesn't know what to say, her body rigid. "What did you say?" Stephen asks, trying not to sound desperate. He squeezes her hand tightly and the words come out choppy, as if each one costs him breath. "I reported the network, the men who buy and sell children, the ones at the old hospital." His voice fails him, his body trembles. "I told them what I knew, and they came for her." Samantha puts her hand to her mouth, her heart racing. "Network," she repeats, almost without a voice. "What network?" Stephen turns his face away as if he doesn't have the courage to look at his past. "They told me that if I spoke, they would mark me." He brings his trembling hand to his chest, pointing to the scar under his collarbone. "Here they marked me to silence me." Samantha looks at the scar, that perfect cross she saw days ago. Now it has another meaning. It is not a symbol of faith, it is a threat, a mark of pain. He continues, his voice faltering. "They left me lying there as if I were dead. I thought I would never see her again, but God let me breathe a little longer to tell her where she is." Her eyes fill with tears. "Where, Stephen?" Her voice sounds like crying. "Where is your daughter?" He breathes with difficulty, his chest rising slowly. "Where it smells like chlorine," he murmurs. "A room with no windows, always locked. The key," his hand still weak. He searches for hers, squeezes it with surprising force, and stares into her eyes with despair and faith at the same time. "You have it, the key." Samantha feels a chill run through her body. The blue key in her pocket seems to burn. "The key," Stephen whispers. He closes his eyes, tears falling again. "Promise me you'll look for her." She tries to speak, but her voice won't come out. The words get stuck between fear and compassion. He insists, squeezing her hand tighter. "Promise me, doctor." Samantha swallows. She can't breathe, but she finds the strength to respond. "I promise." His face relaxes. A long sigh escapes him. She strokes his hair and adjusts the pillow. The monitors continue to beep. The steady rhythm of his heart fills the room. Stephen's gaze is lost on the ceiling, as if he sees something she cannot see, and he repeats in a whisper that sounds like a prayer. "Don't let go. God, don't let go." Samantha rests her forehead against his, tears falling without resistance. "I won't let go either," she whispers. Silence returns, broken only by the beeping of the monitor, the drip of the IV, and the tired breathing of someone still fighting to live. She looks again at the scar on his chest, the cross. Now she understands what it is. Not faith, not 1,000 anger, a warning, a memory engraved on the skin of someone who dared to face something too big. Samantha walks away, wipes her eyes with the back of her hand, and looks out the window. The rain is still outside, washing the glass, washing the night, but not the fear. She touches her pocket, feels the cold of the blue key, and understands without needing to hear more that that small piece of metal is the link between his pain and what is yet to come. The monitor beeps constantly. The whole room smells of alcohol and medicine. Stephen closes his eyes, exhausted, but with peace on his face. Samantha, on the other hand, feels a heavy heart because now she knows the extent of the horror that lies behind that scar. And she also knows that if she decides to follow what he said, there will be no turning back. She looks at her reflection in the window pane, her own pale, tired face, and the rosary in her robe pocket. She takes a deep breath and for the first time lets out a simple, almost silent prayer. God, give me courage. The rain responds with a distant thunderclap, and the room returns to silence, the kind of silence that only appears when the truth begins to emerge. Dawn arrives pale behind the hospital windows. The city is still yawning, but Samantha is already up. She didn't sleep. She didn't even try. She spent the whole night going over every word Stephen said, repeating them in her head like a refrain that won't go away. They keep it where it smells like chlorine, a windowless room. She walks down the empty hallway, the sound of her footsteps echoing off the cold walls. The hospital air smells like it always does, disinfectant and silence. But now that smell bothers her, burning her nose, and suddenly that aroma, so common to those who live among stretchers and scalpels, begins to bring back old memories. Chlorine, the same smell she once smelled many years ago during an inspection that almost went wrong. At that time, she worked as a state inspector, checking illegal deposits of hospital supplies. There was a remote, abandoned warehouse where the air was so thick with chlorine that it burned her eyes. She remembers the stacked surgical masks, dirty syringes, unlabeled bottles, and a sound coming from the back, like doors slamming. Samantha stops in the middle of the hallway. She closes her eyes. Her heart begins to beat faster. The smell, Stephen's description, everything is the same. She runs to the old archives room, turns the key, enters, turns on the light. The air smells of dust and wet paper. The shelves are full of yellow folders stacked haphazardly with handwritten dates. She runs her fingers over the titles, opens drawers, spreads documents across the table. Come on, come on, come on, she murmurs. I know it's here. The sheets pile up, reports, notifications, inspection forms. She recognizes her own signature on some of them from many years ago until she finds an older stack with a blue stamp health surveillance sector. Guadalajara, 2015. She opens it. Dust rises into the air, making her eyes sting. She turns page after page. Codes names of clinics, addresses, license numbers until a detail tightens her chest. A red stamp interdicted below the name she reads in a low voice, as if the letters weighed heavily on her. San Gabriel Clinic. The paper is yellowed, the ink smudged by moisture, but the information is clear. Reason: irregular use of biological waste and suspicion of trafficking in human material. Samantha feels her stomach churn. She sits down and looks at the paper with trembling hands. The images begin to fit together in her head. The warehouse with its strong smell, the silence that hid something, Stephen's voice saying, "Room without a window." She takes another folder inside. There are more inspection reports signed by other doctors. A pattern repeats itself night time. Movement, observed unmarked trucks, chemicals stored without registration, and in a corner of several sheets a name appears, repeated like a shadow. Dr. Ramiro Cardenas, the director in charge. She whispers the name as if talking to the ghost of someone dangerous. Reading further, she finds a note. The property known as the Yellow House was registered with the same RFC as the San Gabriel Clinic. Samantha puts her hand to her mouth. The air gets stuck. Her head spins. The Yellow House? The same one Stephen mentioned, the same place she just visited, now in ruins. Everything is connected. The sound of the fan in the room is the only thing that breaks the silence. The sheets tremble on the table. My God, she murmurs. Was this it? Was this everything? She stacks the folders, separates those with the clinic's name on them. She takes the old laptop that the hospital still uses for internal files and turns it on with hurried fingers. The monitor is slow to start up, making the noise of an old machine. On the screen, she types in San Gabriel Clinic. The system shows inactive in red. Last registration, 2017. But there is a note. Reports of nocturnal movement. Anonymous complaint. Not investigated. Samantha feels a chill run through her entire body. Nighttime activity, just like the neighbor said. Men come here at night. She opens the digital map. The location flashes. The clinic is a few miles from the hospital, almost hidden on a road that has been blocked for years. The same road that leads to kilometer 23. Her heart is beating very fast. Her hands are sweaty. She closes her eyes for a moment. She smells chlorine again. Now it's not imaginary. The air in the room is heavy, and memory mixes with reality. The pieces are there, like a cruel puzzle that finally begins to make sense. Stephen reported something too big. His daughter disappeared shortly after. The house he mentioned was part of the same network that she, without knowing it, helped investigate. One day, he gets up and walks back and forth, not knowing whether to cry or scream. The tears come on their own, burning his eyes. That's why he whispers. That's why he hurts you. Stephen's hand instinctively goes to his pocket. The cold tip of the blue key touches his fingers. He grabs it, and the name engraved there seems to shine in the dim light of the room. He returns to the computer and types in the full name of the director, Ramiro Cardenas. The system takes a while to load, and then displays a cold, dry line. Activity closed, investigation archived. No conviction. Samantha laughs weakly. Archived, she repeats bitterly. Of course they archived it. She turns off the computer, takes the folders, puts everything in a bag, and before leaving, looks again at the old report with the red stamp. San Gabriel Clinic closed. The paper is torn at the edges, but she manages to read a handwritten note, surely written by an employee at the time. Very strong smell of chlorine, underground structure not inspected. The word pierces her chest like a knife. She folds the paper and puts it in her pocket along with the key. Her heart is beating very fast as she turns off the light in the room. The reflection in the glass shows her tired, marked face, but with a different gleam in her eyes. It is no longer just fear. It is conviction. Now she understands the chlorine, the silence, the cross on Stephen's skin, the blue key, the house. Everything leads to the same place, and for the first time, what she feels is no longer doubt. It is certainty, the certainty that there is something hidden where the smell of chlorine never goes away, and whether she wants it or not, she was chosen to find it. Samantha puts her hand in her pocket, feels the key between her fingers, and whispers to herself in a low voice that sounds more like a prayer than a thought. Luce, guide me. She leaves the living room with the rain once again beating against the glass, washing away the dawn and the beginning of a truth that will no longer remain buried. The night covers everything like a heavy blanket. The driveway is full of potholes with tall grass on either side. The car engine groans softly before Samantha turns it off. All that remains is the sound of the wind seeping through some crack. The old San Gabriel Clinic appears in front of her, like a dark block with no lights on, no life, crooked signs, peeling paint, a place that seems to have forgotten how to speak. "Are you sure, Diego Salas?" asks in a whisper. His voice is deep, but today it comes out soft and careful, as if he is afraid of waking the night. "No," Samantha replies honestly with a tired smile, "but I need to." They look around. No one is there, just the headlights turned off, the light drizzle that has returned, and the smell of the wet forest. Diego takes a small flashlight out of his pocket and covers the light with his hand so as not to give away their position. The light drizzle that has returned, and the smell of the wet forest. Diego takes a small flashlight out of his pocket and covers the light with his hand so as not to give away their position. Samantha adjusts her robe under her dark coat, ties her hair back, and takes a deep breath. The blue key weighs heavily in her pocket, as if it were made of stone. "If something goes wrong, we run," he says. Diego, half serious, half joking, to lighten the mood. "If something goes wrong, you run," she replies. "I'm staying." "Oh, I'm not leaving you." He cuts her off sharply. "I already told you." They move crouched down, close to the shadows of the walls. The clinic courtyard is a rectangle of cracked cement with puddles reflecting a starless sky. An old, rusty stretcher lies near the trash like a defeated animal. In the air, there is a smell of old chemicals. It's not strong, but it's there. Diego smells it. "Do you smell it?" he asks. "Yes," she replies, her stomach tightening. "It's coming from here." They approach the side of the building. The plaster is falling off in pieces, revealing the dark bricks. A low metal door with no sign, almost touching the ground. The padlock looks too new for the rest of it. It's heavy, shiny, thick, as if someone had been here yesterday. Diego puts his hand on the door, presses his ear against it, stays silent for a few seconds, counting his own heartbeat. He says nothing, no footsteps, no voices. Samantha rests her forehead against the cold wall, closes her eyes for a second. Her breath comes out quickly, forming little clouds in the cold air. She puts her hand in her pocket, feels the metal, touches the engraved letters. She squeezes it tightly, as if the key could answer. "You're shaking," Diego notices kindly, putting his hand on her shoulder. "Breathe with me. 1, 2, 3, 3. They breathe together. 1, 2, 3. The world calms down a little. "I'm scared," she confesses, almost without a voice. "Me too," he says without pity. "Fear is good. It keeps us alert, but it doesn't control us." "Go." She opens her eyes and looks at him. There is loyalty there. Years of night shifts. Cold coffee shared in the early hours. There is friendship that doesn't ask questions. It's just there. "Thank you, Diego. Then we'll fight if we have to." He smiles from side. "Right now, open it." Samantha kneels in front of the lock. Her legs complain, but obey. She takes out the blue key carefully, as if the sound of metal alone could wake someone. The color of the key shines a little in the hidden light, simple and pretty. The engraved name reflects a flash from the flashlight. "Light, please," she whispers, not knowing to whom, to the key, to the girl, to God. "Diego, please bring the key to the lock." The hole seems very small. Her heart races. Diego holds the flashlight with both hands, pointing it only where necessary. Calmly, he says, "It's going to go in." The tip of the key touches the metal. Samantha turns it slowly to find the right spot. It doesn't go in. She backs up 1 millimeter and tries again. Her hand sweats. The key slips. Shit. She bites her lip, breathes, wipes her hand on her pants and tries again, now guided by touch rather than haste. The key finds its way, as if it recognizes the house. It enters with a soft click, almost like a sigh. "It's in," says Diego, with a surprised but quiet smile. Samantha holds the base of the lock and turns the key slowly. The teeth of the mechanism scrape inside. The sound is very loud in the silence. She stops, listens, waits. Nothing responds but the rain. "Come on," encourages Diego. She finishes turning the key. A sharp click. The lock surrenders, heavy. It falls into her hand. For a second, no one breathes. Samantha puts the lock on the floor as if she were leaving a baby. She still holds the key between her fingers, her hand trembling, but less than before. Now there is something else along with the fear. Determination. She rests her other hand on the worn handle. The metal is cold, like well water. She looks at Diego. He nods. "Here I am," she whispers. "On 3. On 3, he confirms. The wind whistles behind the wall. Plastic flaps somewhere, making a sad flapping sound. 2. Her stomach hurts like it did before big news. The voice of her heart sounds louder than that of her head. 3. She pushes the hinge. It creaks, making her skin crawl. The door opens slowly, as if it hasn't been opened in a long time. A breath of cold air touches their faces. They stay on the edge without entering, looking at the darkness that opens up on the other side, like the mouth of a secret. The rain outside continues to fall lightly, counting the seconds. Diego rests his shoulder on hers. "We're not alone," he says softly. "I'm here." Samantha plants her feet on the wet ground, closes her hand around the blue key, and puts it in her pocket, near her chest. "Thank you," she says in a voice that trembles, but is still firm. The whole courtyard seems to hold its breath with them. The door, now open, is a black line in the middle of the shadow. The sound of the world fades away. Time falls silent. The hallway swallows the light from the flashlight, as if it were hungry. The floor is smooth and cold, marked by old wheel tracks. The air burns in her nose. It smells of strong chlorine, the kind that scratches your throat and makes your eyes water. Samantha takes 2 steps and stops. The sound of her own footsteps echoes back. Diego behind her breathes softly. You hear a whisper. She closes her eyes for a second. She listens. In the distance, like a thin thread of sound trapped in the wall, there is a cry. It is not loud. It is a cry that wants to hide, a cry that asks forgiveness for existing. Samantha points the flashlight at the floor so as not to illuminate everything. She follows the sound. A door on the left is closed. Another on the right has glass painted white on the inside. Nothing. The cry comes from the end of the hallway, where it curves and seems to get smaller. Each step is heavy. The smell of chlorine increases. It's like walking inside an abandoned swimming pool. Her heart is beating in her neck. Her hand goes to her pocket without thinking. She touches the blue key, squeezes it, and enters. They reach a door with no number, cold metal, no window, just a strip of peeling paint at the height of the handle. Samantha presses her ear to the other side. The small, stifled cry, as if the person crying doesn't want to disturb anyone. She looks at Diego. He nods. Go ahead. The handle gives way with a low squeak. The door opens a few inches. A cold wind escapes, bringing more of the smell of chlorine. The flashlight hidden in her hand illuminates only the floor, gray floor, an old blanket thrown on the floor, a plastic cup on the floor. Hello, Samantha, she calls in her softest voice. It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. Silence. The cry suddenly stops, as if fear is squeezing the sound in her throat. Slowly she murmurs, Diego, I'm staying at the door. Samantha enters slowly. The light on the floor. The room has no windows. The walls are smooth, damp in some places. In the corner, a thin mattress covered with a very large, dark brown adult coat. Underneath, a small body is curled up. My love, try again, she says, kneeling on the cold floor. I'm the doctor. The coat moves. 2 large eyes with an old fear appear through a crack. The flashlight shines just enough to see a thin face, cheeks marked by sleep and tears, crooked braids as if made in a hurry with her own hands. You're the doctor. The voice is almost a sigh. Samantha feels her soul rise to her throat. She smiles with the corners of her mouth because it's the only smile that doesn't scare her. I'm your dad's friend. The girl's eyes blink slowly, filling with tears. The coat slips a little further, revealing the rest of her face. The tip of her nose red from crying, her skinny little hands clutching the coat like someone clinging to the edge of a boat. My dad. Her voice breaks, waiting for a yes. Samantha approaches slowly, stopping a few inches away. She kneels on the floor, feeling the cold rising up her leg, but she doesn't move. She opens her empty hands, showing that she has nothing that could hurt her. I'm with him, she says firmly and tenderly. He asked me to find you, and here I am. Luce. The name spoken aloud fills the room with meaning. The girl presses her lips together to stop crying, but 2 tears fall anyway. She crawls forward a little, like a small animal that wants to come out of hiding but doesn't know if it can yet. I'm scared, she whispers. Me too, Samantha confesses without regret. But now I'm with you. Breathe with me. Yes, 1, 2, 3, and 3. The girl tries. The air enters in small bits, but it enters. Her hands loosen the coat a little. Her fingers are thin with bitten nails. Samantha extends her hand, palm up, without touching. Chavez asks for permission with her eyes. Luce sees her hand, sees her face, and takes a second, then places her fingers on top, lightly, as if testing if it's real. The skin is warm and trembling. Samantha closes her hand slowly, enveloping, warming, without squeezing. That's it, she whispers. I'm here. Diego remains at the door with his back to the hallway, watching. He nods without turning around. Everything is clear for now. The silence in the hallway seems to hold the world in place so that this scene can exist. Samantha moves a little closer and, in an unplanned gesture, tilts her forehead until it touches the girl's forehead. It is a short, respectful ancient touch, as if the two had known each other for a long time. The girl closes her eyes. The air changes weight for a moment. There is no chlorine, no hallway, no fear, only the warmth of two foreheads meeting in the darkness. Does something hurt? Samantha asks softly, without removing her forehead from the girl's. The girl moves slowly, then a slight gesture. Her voice doesn't come out. Let's breathe more slowly, Samantha teaches, counting rhythmically. 1, 2, 3. Very good. The little body follows her. The trembling subsides. The coat slips off completely, revealing a worn dress, mismatched socks, scraped knees. Samantha's chest tightens, but she doesn't let the pain turn into fear. She stays there, firm, present. I was looking for you, she continues in a tone that is almost a song. Your dad said your name. He said Luce. He asked me not to leave you alone. The girl opens her eyes. In them is a sparkle that is not from tears. It is from someone who is beginning to believe in the world again, even if it is just a little bit. Luce said it. She asks like someone who needs a little piece of heaven to keep in their pocket. Really? Samantha answers without hesitation. Your name was the strongest thing, Luce said. She bites her lip and looks away side as if remembering something ugly, and looks back at Samantha's eyes, which do not look away. There is no disgust, no haste, no big questions, just an, I'm here, I can believe you. The question touches on childhood and a whole lifetime. Samantha smiles slightly, and her eyes fill with tears without falling. You can do it. The girl exhales, almost a sigh of relief. Her body surrenders once mirror. Samantha runs her thumb slowly up and down the back of her hand, saying without saying anything, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Diego dares to take a step inside, his voice low so as not to break anything. Hello, Luce. I'm Diego. I'm with her. We're together. Yes, the girl looks at him, first with fear, then with curiosity. She sees his kind face, his empty hands, his protective manner. He gives her a slight nod. Are you cold? Samantha asks. Luce shrugs. The coat is big, but it's damp. Samantha takes off a thin sweater she brought without thinking and puts it on the girl's shoulders carefully, as if dressing a little bird. There, all warm, she murmurs. Luce grabs the edge of the sweater with both hands, as if hugging proof that the world can be soft. Her breathing calms down. Her crying becomes a trickle. Thank you, she manages to say softly. You don't have to thank me, Samantha replies. Just stay with me, okay? The girl nods almost silently. Then, as if her courage has grown a little more, she leans forward again and rests her forehead on Samantha's. They stay like that for 3 seconds, 4, 5. Time learns to respect the hallway outside, which is still cold, the chlorine still stinging, life still hard. But in that windowless corner of the room, something simple and enormous happens. Two people recognize each other, one who promised to come, the other who waited without knowing if anyone would come. Let's breathe together again, Samantha whispers with her eyes closed. 1, 2, 3, and the silence that follows tightens her chest, not with fear, but with tenderness, the kind that reminds you why it's worth continuing. The silence is suddenly broken by a sharp sound cutting through the air, the desperate, shrill alarm, as if the building itself were screaming. Light covers her ears and shrinks. Samantha feels her heart pounding in her chest. Diego looks both ways down the hallway, his face tense, sweat running down his temple. Damn, they found us, he blurts out hoarsely. The lights flicker. The hallway fills with a pulsing red. The sound of the alarm seems to come from inside their heads. Samantha grabs the girl by the arm and pulls her toward her. Stay with me, she says. Ego, yes, speak quickly. Without breathing, look at me. Let's get out of here. The girl tries to respond, but her voice is lost in the noise. The fear is too great to fit in her body. This way, Diego shouts, pointing to a narrow staircase at the end of the hallway. They start to run. The wet floor makes their shoes slip. The sound of the guards' boots can be heard in the distance, getting closer and closer. Screams, doors banging, metal scraping. Samantha feels the blood pounding in her ears. Luce stumbles, but she holds her by the waist and lifts her up with momentum. Hold on, my love. Breathe. Walk. They go down the steps one by one without looking back. The hallway below is narrower, the air heavier. Above, voices shout in Spanish, confused. Over there, close the exit. Diego stops for a second and pushes an old stretcher into the middle of the hallway, blocking the way. This should hold them up a little. Samantha looks at him hurriedly, and if they catch you, he gives her 1-2 smile, the kind of smile that says there's no time. Just run, Sam, please. She wants to say something, but the footsteps grow louder again. Diego opens the metal door to the side staircase and holds it with his shoulder. Run, I'm staying, she doesn't shout. You're coming with me. I'll come later, I promise. Come on, Samantha has no choice. She takes Luz by the hand and enters the door. The staircase is steep and made of concrete. The lights flicker. The air smells of chlorine and dust. Behind them, Diego pushes the door shut and listens to the men approaching. Seconds later, the metallic sound of something blocking the way. Hey, doctor, he shouts. I called the police. They're on their way. His voice echoes in the distance. Samantha wants to go back, but Luz pulls her by the sleeve. Doctor, come on. The staircase ends in a narrow corridor that leads outside. The rain falls hard, hitting their faces. The night is cold. Sirens begin to sound in the distance. Soft at first, then louder, filling the air with urgency. Samantha presses Luz against her chest and runs, the wind cutting into her skin, her lungs burning. The sounds behind her mix together. Screams, footsteps, the echo of the alarm. A gunshot cuts through the air, the sharp sound making Luz scream. Samantha instinctively hugs her, falling with her behind a concrete column. Concrete wall. Another shot. Sparks hit the metal, bouncing off. Breathe, my love. Breathe with me. 1, 2, 3. She whispers in her ear, trying to stay calm. Luz cries, her shoulders shaking. Samantha holds her tightly, protecting her with her body, covering her head with her coat. The rain soaks everything, her hair, her clothes, the ground, but she doesn't move. The shots stop for a moment. All she can hear is hears the water, the sirens approaching, her heart racing. Shh, everything is fine. It will pass, Samantha repeats, not knowing if she is trying to calm Luz or herself. A loud engine noise, lights piercing the fog, the blue and red lights of the patrol cars cutting through the darkness like a knife. The police. Luz lifts her face, her eyes wide open. Who are they, friends? Samantha replies with a trembling voice. They are going to help us. More screams, more footsteps. The men who were following her are now running in the opposite direction. Samantha takes Luz by the hand and stands up, her legs barely responding. Come on, my love. It won't be long now. They run toward the light of the patrol cars. Behind them, the sound of a final shot is heard in the distance, the noise mixing with thunder. Samantha's heart seems to want to jump out of her chest when they reach the side exit. The gate is half open. A policeman in a raincoat shouts something she doesn't understand. Samantha raises her hands to show she has a child with her. Help, please. Her voice comes out hoarse, almost breathless. The child. The policeman runs towards them and helps them through the gate. Luz stumbles, but they hold her up. The child squeezes Samantha's hand tightly, as if the whole world depended on that touch. Everything is fine, Samantha repeats, her face close to the child's. Everything is fine. More sirens arrive. The rain falls hard, cleaning the yard, erasing footprints, washing away the blood running down from a cut on Samantha's arm. She doesn't even feel it. She just hugs Luz and breathes in and out. 1, 2, 3. The girl, trembling, repeats softly, 1, 2, 3. And there, amid the chaos of the rain and the noise, Samantha realizes that she is still alive, that the girl is too, that by some miracle that she still doesn't understand, they manage to breathe together in the middle of hell. She hugs Luz tightly, her eyes closed, her whole body trembling. The noise of the siren continues, but now it sounds distant. Everyone seems to stop for a second. Just them, the rain, and the miracle of still being there. The hospital is silent. It's dawn again. The cold lights paint the floor an almost sad white. The sound of the machines comes from far away, repetitive, like a clock of hope. The smell is the same as always. Medicine, alcohol, life. and death mixed in the air. On the stretcher, Stephen slowly wakes up, his eyelids heavy, his body tired, the cables stuck to his skin. The monitor shows an irregular but lively rhythm. He tries to lift his head, but the pain is immediate, a weight crushing his chest. Even so, he tries again. "Where is she?" he murmurs weakly. The nurse next to him rushes over. "Sir, please don't move, you have to rest." Stephen ignores him, his hand searching for support, his body trembling as if he might fall at any moment. But there is a strength that does not come from his muscles. It comes from within, from a place that even the pain cannot reach. "I want to see her," he repeats in a whisper that cuts through the air. "My daughter." The nurse tries to push him back onto the stretcher. "You can't, sir. Your heart is too weak." Stephen shakes his head, his eyes filled with tears. It doesn't matter. Just a second. His fingers rip the sensor cables off, removing the tape that sticks to his chest. The beep accelerates. The nurse shouts Samantha's name, but Stephen is already grabbing the bed rail and putting his foot on the floor. His legs fail him. He almost falls, but he holds on. One step, then another. The floor feels like a heavy sea. In the hallway, a nurse approaches, frightened. "Mr. Cruz, please." He continues walking. His body leans forward, his heart beating wildly. The portable monitor beeps faster. The pain in his chest is sharp, but his gaze does not waver. He knows where he is going, to the other end of the hallway. Samantha appears, pushing a wheelchair beside her. The little girl, her hair still wet, is wrapped in a blue blanket, barefoot, her eyes alert. She looks ahead and sees him. "Dad." The word explodes in the hallway, piercing everything. Stephen stops. The sound of her voice breaks him inside. His legs tremble, but he straightens up. Tears flow down his face, without shame, without control. He opens his arms, weak and trembling, but open. "My light," Samantha says, crying. She lets go of the chair, takes the girl by the shoulders and helps her up. Luce runs. The blanket falls to the floor. The sound of her feet is small, but Stephen's heart hears it like thunder. She reaches him. He hugs her with both hands, as if afraid the world will take her away again. They hug each other tightly, small and large bodies fitting together with desperation and love. "Daddy, I thought you were dead," she sobs, her face hidden in his chest. "Never, my life. I looked for you every day." She can barely speak. The words mix with tears. "Forgive me, my love, forgive me." Samantha watches them from afar, her hands on her face, her eyes full. Time seems to stand still. The sound of the monitors, the footsteps, the voices, everything disappears. Only that embrace exists, an embrace that unites two pieces of the same heart after so much time apart. Stephen's body begins to weaken. His face changes color. He bends over, but does not let go of his daughter. Samantha runs towards them. "Stephen, be careful." He tries to hold him up. "Sit down, please." He shakes his head. His breathing fails. Not yet, he says, out of breath. "Let me look at her a little longer." Luz takes his face in both small, delicate hands. "Daddy, don't cry. I'm here now." He smiles a tired, beautiful smile. A tear slowly rolls down his beard. The monitor on his wrist beeps irregularly. The sound speeds up and stumbles. Stephen reaches out a hand towards Samantha. She takes it. Now the three hands meet. His, hers, and the girl's. A warm triangle in the midst of the cold. "Thank you," he murmurs, looking at the two faces. "God didn't let go of me." His chest rises and falls with difficulty. His eyes become moist and calm. The expression changes from pain to peace. "Stephen." Samantha tries to speak, but her voice breaks. He still holds her hand, but his strength is fading. Her body gives way. Her knees buckle. Samantha holds him before he falls, carefully laying him on the cold floor of the hallway. Luce kneels beside him, crying, "Dad, no, Dad, please." Samantha presses his chest, screaming for help. "Nurses, quick!" Footsteps can be heard running. An emergency cart arrives. They turn on the defibrillator. Hands give orders. The beep becomes a straight line. Samantha feels the ground is slipping away. A doctor places the paddles on his chest and discharges them. Stephen's body shakes. The sound returns. A faint beep, but it's there. Samantha covers her mouth with her hand, sobbing. Luz grabs her father's arm and won't let go. Dad, breathe, please. The doctor looks at the monitor. The heartbeat is slow and unstable, but it's there. He looks up at Samantha. He's breathing. She falls to her knees, tears streaming uncontrollably. She looks at Stephen, his face serene, his chest rising slowly, the same gentle smile still on his lips. Luce rests her forehead against his. I love you, Dad. The beep of the monitor accompanies the silence that follows. Each sound is a small victory, each second a miracle. Samantha takes the girl's hand and whispers with a broken but firm voice, He's here. Luce is still here. And in that cold hallway, with the smell of alcohol and mixed life, father and daughter are reunited, broken, fragile, but together, and that's all that matters. Time passed slowly, as if it didn't want to go away. The weeks were filled with patches, silences, and small victories. The hospital that was once full of cold noises is now stored in memory as the place where pain met miracle. The sun that afternoon is the color of forgiveness, the kind that leaves the sky between gold and pink, as if God wanted to paint slowly. The square is quiet. Children run between the benches. The pigeons walk unhurriedly, and the wind brings the smell of popcorn and flowers. In a corner, sitting on a wooden bench, Stephen holds an old guitar, the same one that someone had kept for him in the hospital. His hands still tremble, marked by the scars of the IV and the cross on his chest. Each chord comes out carefully but with soul. The strings are a little out of tune, but the sound is beautiful, pure, alive. Next to him, Luce sings softly. Her voice is small but sweet. She sings as if she were talking to the sky. Her hair shines in the sun above her. She looks at her dad with a love that needs no words, and between chords he looks back at her, smiling a smile that is at once gratitude, guilt, and a new beginning. Samantha is a few feet ahead, leaning against a post, watching the two of them. Her eyes are filled with tears, but her smile is calm. The wind moves her hair, and the golden light of the sunset seems to embrace the three of them. She reaches into her coat pocket and feels something small and familiar, the rosary, the same one she had put aside years ago after her son's death. Now it is there again, whole, clean, its cold beads touching her warm skin. Samantha holds it between her fingers, running her thumb slowly over it as if talking to the past. The sound of the guitar continues to mix with the children's laughter. Life finally feels like life again. She approaches slowly. Luce sees her first, smiles, and runs to hug her. Dr. Samantha crouches down, pressing the girl against her chest. "Call me Samantha," she says, laughing softly. Luce shakes her head, making her little fingers move. "Daddy is better," she says proudly. Samantha looks at the man on the bench. Stephen looks up, nods, and his smile is so simple that it almost hurts. "Dad is better," she says proudly. It's time to play again. Samantha looks at the man on the bench. Stephen looks up, nods, and smiles so simply that it hurts because it's so beautiful. She walks toward him, and the two look at each other in silence for a moment that seems long enough to heal a little piece of the world. "You're playing well," he says in a broken voice, trying to, and tuning a string. His hands are still shaking, but his heart is no longer. Samantha smiles. That's what matters. He stops playing and looks at the scar peeking out from under his shirt. He runs his finger over it carefully, as if touching a sacred symbol. "Before, this was a mark of fear," he says softly. "Now it reminds me that I'm still alive." Luce comes up behind him and hugs her dad, her little face pressed against his back. "And God bless you," Stephen laughs, tears flowing effortlessly. He takes his daughter's hand and starts playing again, now with a more cheerful rhythm. Samantha sits next to him, watching for a few minutes. No one speaks, only the sound of the guitar and Luce's soft singing. People in the square pass by, look, and continue on their way. No one imagines what these three have been through, and perhaps they don't need to know. The sun begins to hide behind the trees, the sky turning orange. Samantha closes her eyes and takes a deep breath. She feels the warm wind on her face. The sound of Luce's laughter is so light that it seems like a miracle. She takes the rosary again, clutching it tightly. She feels the cold metal of the cross between her fingers and lets a tear escape. "My son," she whispers, almost without a voice. Today I believe again. The wind seems to answer, soft as a breath of peace. She looks up. Esteban plays with his eyes closed. Luz sings, her face illuminated by the end of the day, and for a moment, the whole world seems silent. Only the sound of the strings, the girl's laughter, and faith returning to a weary heart. Samantha passes the rosary between her fingers and lets her thoughts drift away, light and free like an ownerless prayer. How many times do we extinguish hope before the miracle arrives? The sun disappears behind the trees. The voices remain, as does love. If this story touched your heart, tell us in the comments what moment touched you the most. Subscribe to hear the next one. And today, please hug someone you love